right, welcome everyone to a Board of Selectmen and Planning Board public workshop. We'll call the meeting to order. We've got a quorum for both the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen. And so we'll open this up. Basically what the Selectmen received in our last packet was an updated Chapter 38 that reflects the Planning Board revisions, which are summarized on the attached page, and any previous corrections that the Board of Selectmen brought or requested with the document as well. So we start with a Planning Board recap, which is this page here. So let's go down in order. Let's first turn to page 3814. And certainly if anyone has anything to interject along the way or questions, just raise your hand. So at 3814, section 38.5.6. Which it starts at the bottom, restoration of unsafe property. The second word in was, is, and has been changed to in, so it's a typo. Then to page 3820. Mineral exploration. These are all in alphabetical order. Mineral exploration was changed from no. So the select board, under the shoreland zone, which is the second column in, had changed it from CEO to no. And so what this planning board is suggesting is that it be changed back to code enforcement officer or CEO. The change was due to the DEP Chapter 1000, permitting it only with code enforcement officer's approval. So I guess I want board feedback on that. The table reads no, which is the Board of Selectmen recommendation.
Can you repeat the grid report where we are?
Yeah, so Chris, we're on page 3820.
Yep.
Mineral exploration.
Mineral
And the planning board is recommending that be reverted to code enforcement officer. The Board of Selectmen is suggesting a complete restriction with shoreland. I think if I remember correctly, and please, let me know, because of the number of bodies of water in the town of Rangeley and and the shoreland zone, it was just further protection, restricting mineral exploration. I don't know if mineral exploration is identified. So mineral exploration is hand sampling, test boring, or other methods of determining the nature or extent of mineral resources, which create minimal disturbance to the land and which include reasonable measures to restore the land to its original condition. And I think we further discussed that since mineral extraction isn't, or mining of land isn't allowed in the shoreland zone, then what the purpose would be for mineral exploration. So I don't know if anyone remember differently with the Board of Selectmen discussion.
No, I think this was one of the things that Steve was looking at, and that's why he had made the suggestion of no in that area.
Yeah, your last sentence, that was our purpose behind wanting to change. What is, you guys are saying that it you basically saying DEP should just take care of it? Is that what you're saying?
I honestly don't recall talking about.
No, I would agree with the Selectmen's Board that should be done.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't even know, John.
Okay. Are the other members of the planning board, do you feel differently? Are you in agreement with Lee?
I think I am, yeah.
Yes, I am, for sure.
Okay. Chris has a question.
Yeah, just, based on the differences there, I assume that doesn't mean like gold panning, because that's something that's kind of a popular thing.
That's a recreational.
That's a recreational one, right?
Right, but no commercial, because
Yeah,
the predecessor to mining is exploration.
exactly.
So,
And we're in a town where half the townspeople think that the, Poland Spring well is on the same aquifer as the town of Rangeley Lake, which is inaccurate. So I can't imagine that anybody would be supportive of 250 feet from the water, anybody doing any of this type of thing. So I think, I'm surprised that some of the others are even, in with just CEO versus, I guess it's the extent of it. I guess it's almost just test boring. It's not that big a deal, but, they have to get they don't need a conditional use in the mining of the land in commercial. So basically, they can just go forward. Is that what I understand? Or it's a no there, so it's only, if we're gonna clean that up to be consistent, wouldn't we also take out mineral exploration out of CEO in commercial, because we've got mining of land of no in commercial already? So just to be consistent with what you did with shoreland, would it make sense to strike it there? So,
Yeah, so mining of land, of course, you can see is just below the mineral exploration. So, so Chris raises a valid point in commercial, you know, it's a code enforcement approval. All right, so first, let's just backtrack. So it looks like we are going to keep mineral exploration as a no in the shoreland zone. Okay, so there's, the way the table currently reads is okay. And then, all right, so while we're on the same subject line, we've got the mineral exploration under commercial as CEO, yet mineral exploration is no under commercial. That should be congruent.
unless there's a rationale to the other two test points, I guess.
I would agree with the commercial, definitely.
With the allowing of mineral,
No, that meaning no.
The no. Okay,
There's really no place to have a pit.
No.
This doesn't limit, test boring for purposes that aren't for mineral exploration, correct? So then it's common in construction practice to use test boring for figure out the soundness of the earth underneath before you start building something.
yeah, it would just be for, yeah, I mean, that would be,
Mineral exploration.
just be regarding minerals and that.
Like commercial properties, you have to do a phase 1 or phase 2 environmental, those require test borings, but they're not related to.
Let's get rid of it.
All right. Does anyone feel differently? Any questions? Okay, so there is agreement among the select board and the planning board that mineral exploration under commercial change from CEO to no. All right. Moving on, further down, mobile home park in this same table. It was added to village after review with the attorney stating we had to allow mobile home parks in at least 2 zones. So mobile home park,
But mobile home or mobile home park?
mobile home park. So we have it, so at this point, this current table only shows it as conditional use under woodland. And so what the proposal is to change village from no to conditional use. So that's an attorney recommendation based on state law.
Yeah, I don't see really any way around it.
No, no.
It has to be any two zones?
Well, but that's my point, does it have to be in village? No, it just has to be in 2 zones. Right.
So if there's,
My recommendation was industrial.
That's what I thought we put the first
Correct.
one. Industrial.
I like that.
No, I don't, I think there's a reason why we could put it.
Yeah, I think Wes is right.
What about commercial?
Something about.
I don't think there's
well,
one-
living in industrial zone.
There's only one industrial zone that's owned by 5 people, 3 people.
All right,
We know what it is. Doesn't matter.
so let's see,
No, I'm pretty sure there's a reason. Yeah, I think that, because we actually brought that up, I think, I don't know the reason behind it, honestly.
but this.
yes, go ahead, I'm just
trying
reading
to
it.
follow, sorry, because I know you guys are doing things like this. We're required to have 2 zones, but I think preferably it makes more sense to, obviously, the woodland, because even though we call it woodland, it's really a rural zone. But if we have to pick a second zone, I would think that we should pick a second zone, but mobile home parks are picked where they can be economically viable. So that doesn't necessarily mean we can't pick a zone where maybe dollars and cents wise, so it does drive more to the wood.
They put in resource protection. And you get the all spread out.
Bad idea. Or there's not a ton of commercial space that anyone's gonna pay a premium for commercial space in order to put a mobile home park in, the numbers aren't gonna work. You're still allowing it to satisfy the code, but yet it's not economically practical.
So this was something that we discussed, and that was kind of what my thought on it too. Stick it on the shoreline. Or stick it in resource protection. It's not really
But it has,
too much
yeah,
money to build on.
has to have somewhat a straight face test, that might be tough.
Yeah, Lee?
My opinion on that, and I remember it clearly now, was that I suggested the no everywhere except for the woodland. Not to invite it, but if somebody came with a valid point and was gonna fight us on it, then we would have to discuss at the time where it was going. My whole thing with just writing no was the average person might just look at that and say, well, they don't allow it, or I don't wanna do it, so I'm not gonna do it. They might not fight us on it. If they do, then we address it. But rather than invite it,
So the board had struck mobile home parks in our first, so here's the note. The manufactured housing law requires mobile homes to be located, quote, in a number of locations where single-family homes are permitted. Mobile homes should be allowed in more districts than just one, and it says this will be discussed.
Should or have?
Well, in a number of locations is what the law says. So it's up to a municipality to identify more than one zone that allows mobile home parks.
But locations isn't restricted to zone, is it, Joe?
Well, that's-
Because if it says a number of locations should be more than one zone, our woodland zone is pretty expansive.
It's the most expansive zone.
So we could argue that we've satisfied it from that point, and I guess we deal with it as somebody challenges, but
that was our.
That's what we asked, that's exactly what we
That's
talked about.
exactly what we said. Let them bring their case to us, and then we decide with everybody's approval what we do, but not invite it. Because I think we're gonna, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna face this
we're gonna face it
in the next 6 months, right down the street. So it's coming.
So the notation in the planning board summary indicates that after review with the attorney, that we had to allow mobile home parks in at least 2 zones. So this is coming from the attorney, according to the planning board notes. So
Is Kristen on tonight?
she is not, but this is,
So I would.
Coming from you guys.
Yeah. The reason we know was we
Sorry,
run it
if I
by-
It looks like you just used the wrong terminology. You weren't indicating that these two zones. You were trying to say what was given to you as directive from, this is the same attorney review that we got, correct?
Yep.
So what she just read is what you were using. So that doesn't say two zones.
There's multiple locations, I heard.
And that woodland zone is 5,000 acres.
We were cautioned to stop putting everything in woodland, but I'm just gonna say that.
No, we weren't.
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Very cautioned us to stop throwing
The
everything.
other option is what Weston put it in the neighborhood that's not viable for anybody, but.
It would just need to be where single-family homes are permitted.
Woodland, they're permitted,
Yeah,
so.
shoreline, if.
So,
Can you read exactly what the attorney said again?
So,
I'm sorry.
Let me just defer to Joe, just in case he has extra info. Joe, you have your hand up.
I've spoken a little bit about this with Kristen actually this morning. She and I thought it would be good, before we got too far down the path, to talk about what the comp plan says about it. So we want to read what the comp plan says on all the split plan district, and kind of factor that information into this topic in particular. That's all I want to add.
Okay. Shelley?
comp plan says designate a suitable location in growth areas where mobile home parks are allowed pursuant to state law.
So is that, where's our growth zones? Currently?
Woodland.
Right, and that's where you can do quadruple capacity under LD 2003. So that'll be where, if you're a developer of those type of things, you're going to gravitate towards the growth zones. Those
So
are
you're
in
gonna want
woodland.
a bigger area than what's allowed in the village.
Well, I think that's the
Village,
point.
yeah.
point, though.
I know. that's
I think
the
it'd
thing.
be a travesty to the village. I think there's other spots.
All right, so there seems to be a consensus that folks just want to leave it woodland zone, all right? So let's play this. Kristen comes back and says, no, you need to identify two zones. What are your thoughts on a second zone? Just so we don't have to meet again to.
The most impractical zone there is.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Anyone here ever lived in Mill Pond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, I have, twice.
Yeah.
And there are rules, but I get it, thank you.
And there's mobile home parks is, I think, the biggest challenge. I mean, the mobile home,
So mobile, yeah, this isn't about mobile homes, this is about mobile home parks.
In parks,
So you gotta think about the fact that you're gonna attract those in those parts too. And that's why I say,
it can be a
pick
culture.
pick the most impractical zone that you can pick to satisfy the law.
I think that's, you gotta be careful with that. So, I mean,
Yeah, I agree with Chris.
You don't
To come out and say, you can say whatever you want. Come out and say that we're deliberately trying to shove a certain kind of housing in a place we know it can't work, to satisfy our own druthers is, that's a slippery slope though.
it opens up other challenges.
I believe that our attorney's rationale is, if you're gonna put us in another place, put it in a place where action can occur. That way you're meeting the intent.
Can I take a suggestion?
So village, the recommendation from planning board is village. That doesn't seem to be what folks are thinking is the best alternative.
The only one on here is, there's only one on here is Woodland.
Yes, I know.
Village is CEO for mobile homes.
No, I guess the edits,
That's what we're discussing.
the edits
That's what
in
we're
here have not yet been added to the version that we got, so.
My suggestion would be, is a mobile home park is a commercial enterprise. My uncle, he's owned 3 or 4 of them. They're fairly, there's some large REITs and different companies that are buying these stuff all over the state, putting them in different places. He said, these are commercial enterprises. So I would say that if we we're gonna have to pick a zone that would pass a straight day, I would suggest you pick a commercial zone because it's a commercial enterprise. And then that would still come to review with planning board and they can control curb cuts. They can control a bunch of different things. It puts it, we don't have a huge, large commercial zone. And, you know, if someone's gonna spend the capital to acquire property in that commercial zone, I think they're gonna meet some of the other things, it also puts, most of our commercial zone, unless I'm wrong, I don't have the map on me, is mostly on Route 4. So the scenic byway and those type of things could come into play as far as dressing up the curb part of it. So that's what I'm saying, that might be a good second alternative without grossly tying our hands.
All right, comment from the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Ethan.
I agree with Chris for that, and another reason, commercial zones, probably most of the public sewer and water is, commercial zones land there, and then you wouldn't be getting people, you wouldn't be accused of trying to drive people out of, access to public sewer and water for this kind of enterprise.
Thank you, Ethan. Any other comments from the Board of Selectmen? Go ahead,
So
Shelley.
with the parks, and looking at the section, 38.9.5, you have to have public water, public sewer, and then it also has limited to the sizes of how far apart they are. So what size could basically fit a certain lot? How many mobile homes could you have on, say, a 5-acre piece? I mean, are we talking, I mean, they have to have their own septic and water. It has to be public, so how,
I think we've restricted that to 3.
okay. So is it restricted in
Well-
the new changes?
You're saying 3 units? Now, when the attorney was here last time, I said something about restricting the amount, and she looked at me with a rival smile and chuckle and said, you were here when she said it, when I said about restrictions, she's like, I think that would be highly illegal. That was, I believe were her words, you can look at the tape, so I don't want to do anything that involves those words.
So Shelley, is your point that you're saying that choosing the commercial zone contradicts the guidelines in our code for mobile home parks?
Well, I'm just saying, like, we're running out of areas, where commercial and village are, allowed. I mean, there's not that much space on the map, so where would you get, it would have, I'm saying is like the lot would have to be the size of the lot to fit everything on it. So could they actually fit in those zones? Like there is fit in the commercial one or?
Well, I mean, with public sewer, the minimum individual lot size is 4,000 square feet. So. Yeah, it
That's
depends
why
on,
this is gonna-
So, so is it our public water sewer, or they have their own typically, if there's a large and they have.
No,
their
the
own?
terms public sewer and water means ranges down sewer, ranges water
Okay.
district.
Okay,
You have private wells, and
Not
that's
private,
not
not
public, public
Okay.
means the
okay,
entities that
all right, just wanna make sure.
all right. So,
So does that mean you have to pick a zone that has that public access?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
so basically, well, there are two different parameters.
Right.
If there's public sewer and water, here are the rules, and if it's not, well, here are the other rules, and you need more space.
Right, well, I think that's one of the reasons why we went away from commercial in village, because of that reason, because now you can put more in smaller space because they have public water and public sewer. So if somebody was to buy that piece of property in Route 4, yes, the scenic byway stuff might come into play. Whether they spent whatever they spent on it, they could put a pile of trailers in that lot now.
Yeah. It's 4,000 square feet.
Right, exactly.
I want to kind of edit what I said to Shelley about public water. I forgot about this. Many mobile home parks have their own water license and their own water systems. Class 1, very small water license controls it. So that would be a public utility within that park. Even if it's nowhere near our public utilities.
Okay. So Shelley, a point for bringing that up, are you in agreement for commercial zone? Ethan voiced, agreement. How does the rest of the board feel?
I'm not sure.
There's nowhere big enough in village to put it.
Yeah, so I think we
Village
struck,
is off the table.
yeah, I think we struck village. Commercial. What do you men think?
Well, I think the commercial, because it's still gonna be restricted. you know, and we're doing our due diligence, but if anybody comes in here, we could pass a straight face because we could give them this map and say, here, you go find a spot.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, all right, so commercial is gonna be expanded at some point. The zones have to be expanded in this town. We can't go by that map. Over the next 20 years, you won't be able to build a commercial building in this town. There will be no lots available. So that's going to have to be expanded. Where do you want to see a mobile home park? Do you want to see it on Route 4 when tourists come into our little town and drive by a trailer park? That's where your commercial zone is gonna go. It's gonna go right towards.
This was my question last time that I think Kristen got mixed up with me when we were talking about restrictions. So we talked about this when Steve Philbrick was on the board. And I said, if it ends up on Route 4, like you're talking about, can we require, like we do with other commercial properties? There needs to be so many trees, it needs to be so far off the road, it needs to have a hook in the driveway. You know what I mean? Where it is off, but not visible directly from the byway because it is byway. Can we do that? She's not here, I don't know the answer.
I don't know, we don't do that with other commercial, properties in this town.
Oh,
Because they just come to the landlord, they need permits.
I understand that, yeah.
We don't make them dress up their property. Trees up front.
No, I'm saying, can we make it so can we do that?
Kind of the standard of the application.
That's right. Can we, or is it not allowed? It's a question of like, no, the answer.
discriminatory.
Right.
I agree.
So I think we'll go off for a while.
I honestly feel that we just hold our ground on this, whatever you decide, but
Well, I think
let's
so
fight it when it comes.
the purpose of this is, so our first thought is, all right, this in a number of locations, woodland zone, all kinds of, it's the largest zone in Rangeley. So does that qualify for a number of locations? But according to the planning board notes, it indicated that, there was a need for at least 2 zones. That's what I'm reading here. So this is to cover in case Kristen says, no, you need 2 zones. What is our consensus?
So
Commercial?
that came from Kristen. The 2 zones came from Kristen.
Yeah, well, and that's why we hire her.
Right, exactly. So
That's why we
it
hire her.
wasn't something that we just made up.
No, I'm sure. Yes.
Madam Chair, as this group moves forward with the review, Kristen wants to be part of that process. So when the next one is scheduled, she can be here. We can have some of these questions ready to find out. So we can
Okay.
check with her.
Okay, all right, so let's move on then.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So I think we've kind of at commercial, Lee.
Can we go with commercial with a conditional use and just put it in the box?
Oh.
Be done.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah. Just wrap it up.
All right, so we're gonna strike village from the planning board notes here. And at this point, all right, let's save this discussion, the remainder of the discussion with Kristen. And it gives us a little more time to process it and our questions. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so next up is on page 3854. Wait, let me just make a note, we're coming back. 3854. All right, 38.9.5. All right, so this is under in the Woodland District. Lot size shall meet or exceed the following. The wording was multi-family development in the Woodland District shall meet the dimensional requirements as written in section 3867. And it was changed to, in the Woodland District, the lot size shall meet or exceed the following. Okay, so there's a wording adjustment in that intro sentence.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
that was put in there in regards to the mobile home park.
okay. All right, so, any discussion on that change? All right. Okay. All right, we have got on the same page, and the next paragraph down was added and states, for all lots, the minimum lot size for multifamily development shall be 80,000 square feet for the first structure with 3 units, and 20,000 square feet for each additional unit within the first structure. For each additional structure proposed for a multifamily development, there shall be 80,000 square feet for the additional structures with 3 units, and 20,000 square feet for each additional unit. All right, I guess what I wanted to make sure is that this wording was actually in here, because edits in the land use table were not yet in there. So, okay. So your discussion about that, yeah, Lee.
So that, and I'm pretty sure if I remember, that was put in there so that we could at least size the mobile home park. So it reads, the 80,000 square feet is technically 2 acres. So you need a minimum of 2 acres to start a mobile home park. And then for each additional unit, you would need 20,000 square feet, which is 1 acre, up to 3 units. So you can technically get away with your 3 unit mobile home park would be on 4 acres. You see, so that it's not, because if you read that you have,
Right.
they literally can be, I think it's 10 feet apart and 15 feet end to end. That's the state allowance for mobile home parks. I don't want to live like that. I don't think anybody does, but so we were trying to make it so that we restricted it to 3 units, which could be a problem. But if it was restricted, then at least it had to be a sizable piece of land that they could.
So would that change from a single wide to double wide? I mean, when I look at mobile home parks, I know you guys see, but I see, the town farm road. I see the one that goes down by Barry Gibbons, auto shop on that side. Mine owns them both. That is just full of, elderly people on lease land that put their double wides on it. I think that one has just double wides on it. They might have a few single wides, but they're distant enough apart. And then the next section of his where he's replacing all those old mobile homes, it looks really, really nice. I mean, I've seen ones in Lewiston as well where they're much closer and stuff together. So,
This was follow Vining's
okay,
protocol of what he has laid out. From
Okay.
looking at his, this is about what.
they
he
give them
has.
enough for parking space, they can have that
Absolutely.
little storage thing that they have. I mean, it has to be living space for someone to live in. It can't, it's not an apartment building.
I mean, yes, definitely.
This will apply to every multifamily dwelling in the woodland zone though, not just mobile home parks, correct? I mean, you can't just distinguish a mobile home, this is every
Yeah,
multifamily dwelling in the woodland zone.
Well, in this paragraph, when they use the word structure and they use the word units, do they mean bedrooms, or does this mean, or is this talk, because it kind of looks like a structure with 3 units, doesn't sound like mobile home separate, it sounds like an apartment building. Doesn't it sound that way? So if it's to address mobile homes, it might have to be reworded, so, because it's just confusing me as I read it, but maybe not.
And unit is not in the glossary as far as Probably.
I agree
With
that.
three
may need
additional-
some rewording.
Okay, I mean, we could,
Because it doesn't sound like it's addressing what you want to address. I don't think it's addressing.
This is just addressing multi-family dwelling. That's all we're addressing.
Okay.
I think we tried to do some on mobile home parks for free. This is just multi-family dwelling, which is an apartment house.
Okay.
any other questions regarding this edit? Yeah, residential structure containing 3 or more dwellings. Okay, looks like that edit is a go. All right, page 3856. Section 38.9.5, under mobile home parks. Right. Planning board reversed their vote made on July 27, 2022, after review by town attorney. The planning board added a maximum number of lots, which was 3, and that was removed because it can't be any different than, say, a subdivision. I think that's what she said, is that a mobile home park has to be treated as any subdivision that's allowed in town. So as they are subject to subdivision approval. And of course, the the select board, our initial, our edit was, okay, strike mobile home parks, just remove it from chapter 38. Of course, we can't do that. So everything's been added in, and any discussion regarding mobile home parks and as it's currently worded. All right,
I got one thing here.
go ahead, Wes.
So it says right here, with public sewer, is minimum lot of 4,000 square feet. If we want larger spaces for mobile homes on the park, instead of jammed right together, why don't we change that? Why don't we make the minimum lot size 15,000 square feet?
So lots with public sewer? I mean,
I mean, we could change it, we can go above and beyond. I think that's just the minimum standard, is it not?
I don't know.
it probably is because the allowance, the requirement for a larger.
That's what I
You're
mean,
gonna put them right on top of one another.
right, that's why I was against commercial, because it's public sewer, and then you just pile it on, we could have public sewer, but West, it goes to 15,000, whatever.
We can go above and beyond, if that's just a standard in the state of Maine. We can go above and beyond that and say, we want 15,000 square feet per lot, and that would spread your mobile homes out some, and make it look a lot nicer, like down. That
Yeah.
finding.
There's a nice space between, for the driveway, and like, there's not any storage space.
Yeah, you have here on the, without a septic, if they have to put one in, it's one dwelling unit for 20,000, that's the average. Some can be 12,000, the average of the park is 20. So we could say that, it's gonna be 10 if it's in the public sewer. I mean, 15 is probably,
Well, whatever.
yeah, 10 is 4 per acre. That's still a lot. So I guess it's what you guys think.
I say make it the same as our previous discussion about the multi-family dwellings. Because right now, it's easier to throw a mobile home park in than it is a multi-family dwelling.
Right,
Way easier.
So if you kind of make it fair, make it even, maybe you'll attract more multi-family dwellings than you will trailer house.
And that's 20,000 for that, right?
Yep.
There you go.
But it requires you to have the 2 acres to start,
Yeah, the 80,000 square feet.
the 2 acres to start, And then each unit's 20,000, which is what
And
they're
it's
asking.
5,000 for each addition.
Just a suggestion.
Well, plus, I think, so it sounds like the consensus is that 4,000 square feet in 3.1 should be increased. So there's been a proposal for 10,000, 15,000.
20,000.
Yeah, I know, problem 20,000, which individual units are like that, and well, what does it matter?
It doesn't do it. That's why I make it harder, not easier. And then we can
And then you,
back.
then you could put it in commercial, because then access to the public sewer, and then you're down, and that really minimizes what you put in, but it's technically another zone, they can put it in. I mean, whatever you guys are comfortable with.
No, So 20,000 is being tossed out there. Is there any disagreement with that? Any concerns? I think, I think the consensus, that folks want those that inhabit a mobile home park to have some elbow room and to have, room for ample parking and to have, an outbuilding if they want, to buy a shed from Home Depot and put it beside the mobile home.
So the more expensive it is, the better class people are gonna fight anyway. Absolutely.
Well, there's the potential to rent them as well, so it may be a mixed group.
Well,
Because we could put.
the rents would go up, the rents would have to be more, they cost, the mobile home park that costs 4 times as much as a standard mobile home park, you're gonna have to rent it for 4 times as much. You're gonna get a better person in there.
Well,
I'm talking about that person, but
we can't say things like that. Stop it.
But these are all your personal opinions. right?
Yeah.
Just to clarify for the record.
All right,
I'm just gonna say this out loud, and, I don't want this entire room to lose sight of the fact that all of us, I assume, have a place to live in this town. It's not that easy to get one. And there's not many people here that you get to work with. So let's not shoot this entirely in the foot. That's just my 2 cents. I understand what everybody's feelings are. And
No, I understand that. And I think our concern is the quality of life. We don't want you to come here. And my biggest fear with any subdivision or any trailer park has always been, I don't want a kid to go to school and say to another kid, where do you live? Oh, I live here. And then have that kid scrutinized because he lives in the trailer park, because kids are cruel. But if we all do our job to make sure that everybody has a nice place to live, nobody has to say, I'm from the other side of the tracks, in a sense. You know what I mean? And everything we do, that's what we're trying to do, is to make every community equal in a sense.
well, it's the feel of, the good feel of Rangeley and, keeping in with the,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, I do too, Ethan. It's a very good point. Yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
So Main Street Housing does have a program where they're mobile homes, where you can buy a brand new mobile home. The state's requirement now is you have to have a 6-inch pad. You can no longer put them on a gravel. Like the mobile home company that I work with, on someone that bought the mobile home to put it on leased property. The whole thing is set up, all it has to do is deliver. She gets the financing for the lease for the mobile home, and then the mobile homeowner just takes the lease income. So there might be an opportunity where this is a brand new setup, where you're getting new homes going in those with Main State Housing, this assistant for financing.
So that, I mean, and
Right.
this is someone buying a brand new mobile home, financed by Main State Housing, putting it on a cement pad, and
That they have to pay for if it isn't already there, and then they also have to have the hookups that's already set up for it, and then they just have to figure out how to connect.
Okay,
So I have another question too in regards to the square footage, in the first section. And then we're also saying on .5, we're also telling them it has to be 10 feet front, the setback distance from each home, 15 feet rear and side 10 feet. So is that enough and within the parameters that for the numbers we're given with the 1,300 square feet?
2,000.
13,000 square feet.
Yes, sorry, yep.
So I think it's 13 divided into 40,000. That's how many, so you could put 3, almost 4,
42,000.
almost 4 in every 200 square foot area.
Okay,
The 20,000 square feet is 1 square acre. It would limit you to 1 mobile home per 200 by 200 square feet.
okay.
I think those must be the state guidelines.
Is that for those? Chris?
The easiest way to develop what kind of Lee's goal is here is density. So if we look at what we put there with the 4,000 and the 12 and 20, and if we increase the lower one to half an acre, and we do the other in the rural area an acre, in the woodland zone anyways, you could have, I think, what, 80,000 square feet anyways. So it will accomplish, I think, what Lee's trying to do about spreading out. And true, it'll be a lot more expensive fit up cost for a developer, but I've gone through different mobile park areas around the state, and the nicer ones are the ones that have good buffers between units and there, and I think people like them and give them more longevity. And let's face it, we're kind of a rural area anyway, so I would think that we could accomplish that just by, I think, we don't have to judge who's going to come, more of let's have it spread out a bit, and I think we'll get a better option. And there's people that there may only be other 40 use trail and that type of thing, but if there's enough of a buffer and stuff, and it's spread out, and it's a nice setup, then I think it'll work in that scenario as well, whether it's a used or a new unit. And so I would suggest we do 20,000 in the septic area and a public septic area, and go to 40,000 in the rural area, because it's in the woodland anyways. You're gonna have to have 80,000 square feet in.
So 20,000 is still being proposed. Is there anyone opposed to that, changing the 4,000 to 20,000 in .3.1? And then,
Which would go along with our 20,000 square feet for on-site disposable, just down below at .3.
right,
Perfect, it was written by itself.
Exactly.
okay. All right, so we've,
But then back to Shelley's point about .5, these setbacks, is that all from the state? So, I don't even know if this verbiage in this has to be even in here, because now we've already decided, it's already going to 20 square footage. You're obviously not going to put it 10 feet, 15 feet, or it's not going to be allowed. So I don't even know if that section needs to be in there, if that has to be there because of state mandates or what, I'm not sure, but.
yeah, so that's a good point, good thing to ask Kristen. All right, so Kristen. 3857.5.
And since both of these are conditional use, it'll have to be clarified anyway to the planning board. They'll have to have a plan design.
Oh, yeah.
So you can confirm the lot size.
All right. Any other proposed edits to this section? All right.
And that's commercial, not downtown, right?
Perfect, thank you. All right, moving on, to the land use table. We've already more or less covered. I think there was agreement with the planning board on some changes. So I think the last time we chatted, it was, so we're on page 3819, it was daycare center, okay? And that the Board of Selectmen had originally said yes, under residential, and you can see it's been, and the planning board said they would prefer it to be no, and I think we're all in agreement when we discussed this the last time, that daycare center, because of the number of potential employees and the number of children, that, yeah, it wouldn't be conducive to a daycare center. Yes, Shelley.
So I have, when I'm looking at the version from what we went over originally to discussion and what we had before, I have under daycare center that we had marked village as a conditional use. And now it's marked as no. So I didn't know if that was if it was something that was missed or.
All right, so I have, let me see which version. I have, hold on. I have it crossed out. I have conditional use, and now I have a line through it. Yes, go ahead.
I apologize to backtrack, but on that section 4358, which is referenced for mobile homes.
Yeah.
The mobile home parks, I happen to put up the code. And unfortunately, they limit that we have to choose the smaller of either 6,500 square feet or what our minimum lot size is. So our minimum lot size is 20,000, I think, correct? Or 6,500, so the maximum we could set that at is 6,500. So my suggestion, as we've tried to do with a lot of this code, is that I would reference that section of the code as what our minimum lot size is. That way, if it gets changed, I'm not having to edit the code. I know that's not exactly what any of us want to have this discussion here today, for the most part. But it does spell it out specifically in that section, which I would expect our town attorney is going to point out to us on her notes back. So I just thought, before everyone's surprised at that, that's where we're at.
3, 8, 5, 6. I mean, we can, all right, so let's go back to, thank you, Chris. 3, 8, 5, 6. Mobile home parks. So,
And that is, if you want to write down the section, it's 4358, section 3.
I still think it should be spelled out, but see, MRSA,
Yeah, MSRA, section
4358.
38-4358,
Mhm.
section
Or any
3, A, 1A and B is what it's spelled out in. That's where it is. Shall not require it to be larger than the smaller of 6,500 square feet or the area of the smallest residential lot. So if we allow the smallest residential lot to be 5,000 square feet, we would have to require that. So 6,500 is the max
Just
you
like
can do.
6,500.
Otherwise, it's contrary to state law, which is covered in that other previous section.
Yeah.
Which says we have to follow the rules of that. So unfortunately, that gets changed at the state level. I'd say we reference that and then maybe talk to our folks at the state level to see if they can increase the square footage.
All right, so, yeah, Lee, did you have a question? Oh, just a growl.
Yeah, we don't want to. No,
All
I,
right.
so it all comes back to, Mr. Vining has a beautiful mobile home park, right? But yeah, who's gonna come here to do one? Are we gonna get lucky and find somebody like that, or are we not gonna get?
Mr.
lucky
Vining has a
find
home and
somebody?
raise, and maybe we can convince him to do one if it's gonna be one.
You know, it's just, how can we be forced into that? I just don't understand. Where do we just stand and fight and say, we'll allow it in our town, but it has to be this way, you know, there has to be some point when we can just say, no. If you wanna do something in this town, this is how you do it. Not let somebody in Augusta tell us how we should run our town, because they're not running theirs very well, I can tell you.
Well, there's a different setup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something that the Board of Selectmen has brought up before. There's form-based code that we can also discuss down the road, Lee. That as far as how we want new structures to look and feel, as far as, just think of like Freeport, okay?
Now, just done it too. Yeah.
And, so, just keep that in the back of your mind. It's something, I don't know, we discussed maybe a year or so ago, and with chapter 38, it's been put on the back burner, but definitely to preserve that feel of Rangeley, we may want to dictate some guidelines. No psychedelic, psychedelic buildings, like Rangeley or something. I think I gave the board an example. So in the town of Bethel, you pull up to the, they've got a beautiful Norway Savings Bank brick building and a Dunkin' Donuts off to the side, and then in the line of vision from the street is this psychedelic colored movie theater. So it's got all these triangulated colors of purple, orange, et cetera. So it really just sticks out. And so form-based code, something maybe to think of down the road. So 6,500 needs to be substituted in .1 with a reference to the statute for any updates.
I wouldn't even put the 6,500 in, I'd just reference. the
And this is
statute.
where it becomes a really non-user-friendly document.
I get it, but I mean, we can make a note, but then, if the state changes it, then we've got to go and have a public hearing and a public meeting.
I don't think we do, or per, I mean, maybe,
I don't think you can do it that way.
Good question for.
yeah, it's a good question for our attorney, because it just becomes, just download the statute, staple them together and, put them in our,
There's nothing wrong with us putting footnotes. We can put footnotes and say that code currently is effective there.
Mhm.
And then we update the footnotes as the law changes. Put them at the bottom of each page.
yeah, that's just my personal preference. That's all.
What if it goes smaller? What if it works against you?
We're not gonna have a choice.
So just as, anyway, that's, all right.
You put it in there, whether the state changes, you have to follow that, sure.
See, in some cases, a town is allowed to be more restrictive, but not in,
Well, then I say that's an excellent question for Kristen to
yeah.
say, the code says this, but we want 20,000. Can we put it in and do it and then deal with it later? Or do we have to follow what the state statute says of 6,500? Do we have to put 6,500 in And if we do, is it grandfathered like Sam says, if they change it to 4,000? It's a great question.
All right. We're gonna revisit that.
Yeah, because if that's the case, you must not have any of this, and just like you said, go to the state statute and read it. That's what we have to deal with, so why don't we even have it?
Yeah, just reference,
Because,
but it says mobile home parks. We follow all state
I
guidelines.
mean, if that's what we're holding our hands to the fire, that's.
Yeah.
Once it gets us out of trouble, we
I'd rather fight.
Oh, I'm with you.
And here's the joy of home rule. This is why we do ordinances, because we have the authority as a municipality at home rule. So I don't see why we can't make this more restrictive.
But it says as long as it's,
I understand what you're reading, but we have the authority of home rule.
well, we have it right in our
Given
own
to us.
code, 38.9.4.
I understand what you're saying, but we have the authority of home rule. It is given to us. We have the authority to be more restrictive. That is what home rule is all about. It is the foundation of home rule.
Except where it's a main statute.
Is more restrictive. If you read the home rule language, except where the main statute is more restrictive, we can't be less restrictive than the main state statute.
Right.
But home rule gives us the authority to be more
I
restrictive.
hear you loud and clear, but what I'm saying is.
Do ya? Do ya?
I do, but what we're doing by making it larger square footage, we're making it more restrictive.
What was the next one? 3814?
Yeah, so, we're gonna come back to that with Chris. All right, land use table, I'm not sure. 3819.
Just back to the daycare center, is the village not supposed to be, conditional use?
All right, so daycare center, Shelley has in her notes that under village, instead of no, it was the select board had voted for it to be conditional use. And,
And you said you had it crossed out.
yeah, so let me just take a look.
I thought that you had mentioned last time that there's not people working there.
So that's what changes it from a daycare home
Okay.
to a daycare center. It's,
And that's what I
more
think.
than 12 kids, and then, so then you have the at-home business rule, though, where you can have a business at home, but no more than, in a residential or village district, you can't have more than 2 employees. One employee and yourself, or 2 employees. It's something, I don't
Right,
remember.
and I thought that was maybe why.
All that, and also the traffic that's gonna be generated. If you have a daycare center in the village, you could potentially have 40 kids there, so it's 40 different vehicles twice a day, dropping people off on, say, on street, Do we wanna do that?
Well, I'm considering you have a you have a school with like under 200 kids in it.
Well,
40 kids in 1 unit.
I'm pretty sure we scratched it last time.
I think we all
Okay.
kind of said
Yeah,
scratch. so we can-
I've got an X through conditional
Okay,
use,
I'm gonna
so,
cross that out then.
yeah, so that the current no under village is accurate.
And I also had under bed and breakfast,
Yeah.
up at the top, under Woodland, I had planning board approval, and this says no now. And the boarding house also says no, and we had put planning board for both of those, under Woodland.
All right, so bed and breakfast.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch of that, like bed and breakfast, versus the inn and the campground versus the motel, hotel versus the mobile home versus the lodging house versus the hostel. They're all, other than bed and breakfast, not allowed, or they are allowed, just not the bed and breakfast.
Okay. I don't,
I don't know why, you know.
I don't know either.
Well, the N is the CU, no. I don't remember what the conversation was. If it's not supposed to be, that's fine, I'll just cross it out, whatever, it just says legal.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I don't, do you know why?
I don't know, I don't even remember talking about that.
Big news.
We haven't discussed.
No.
it. I don't know.
All right.
I would say it's a typo.
So Sam Louder, can you summarize what you found allowed under Woodland that are similar to bed and breakfast?
Oh, so yeah, the bed and breakfast, if you're allowing the inn to be considered in the Woodlands and not a bed and breakfast, right? I don't understand, and then you are allowing the lodging house, right, is also multiple, even in your definition, consider it as hostel. Allowing them in the Woodlands, I don't understand the difference between a bed and breakfast, which is generally smaller than inns and lodging houses, right? Right, and somebody actually lives on property, right, to maintain and. I know the lawyer mentioned not to dump everything out into the Woodlands.
Yeah, that was a caution from the attorney.
But this is-
That's not a risk for something.
But this is a dump,
It's a nice.
because it's allowed a bunch of other places too.
We're trying to throw out there. Everything's thrown at you.
So is there a consensus amongst the Board of Selectmen that this should be also conditional use?
Yes.
All right, planning board, what are your thoughts?
Yeah,
Would be fine.
I agree. I
Okay,
agree that and the board.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
okay, so conditional use, not for
Any residential structure or lodging meals provided.
Might be a shared dinner.
Okay, so boarding house, I think Sam just kind of briefly read the description. It is in our glossary. Residential structure where lodging and meals are provided for a period of at least 2 weeks. And where a family residing in the building is acts as proprietor or owner. Boarding house in Woodland, thoughts on changing that from no to conditional use?
Usually use.
Okay, planning board, conditional use, okay. All right, what else you got, Shelley?
Okay, so another one I have is under essential services. It says shoreland, it just says planning board. But the other notes from the previous draft said planning board with a footnote of 3. I didn't know if that footnote was just missed or.
Number 3, setbacks from the normal high water mark shall not be less than 75 feet from streams and the upland edge of wetlands and 100 feet from great ponds and rivers. So footnote, essential services, shoreland. And yeah, I have C3 as well. Okay. In previous. Or planning board 3. Planning board 3.
Under shoreland.
Under shoreline.
And then under woodland, we have previously and now it's now showing as, planning board. So, I don't know which one we want to put.
All right, so,
Can somebody help me, tell me where essential services is defined, because I can't find it.
all right, so all the way back. It used to be called utilities or essential services.
Okay.
And the planning board edit just identifies it now as essential services. So,
3874. No.
1974?
Yep.
Thank you.
do you want some time to read it?
Second. Okay, thank you.
So that's, so the footnote 3,
So you're saying adding 3, put no back in there, Shelley, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's a typo and it was just missed when it converted over, or if there was a particular reason why it was taken out.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be in there, that's for sure.
add footnote 3. Essential services, shoreline. And then, what was the next one, Shelley?
So the other one was under woodlands, under essential services. We originally said the CEO. But it's showing planning board now, so I didn't know if that was a change.
Essential services. Under woodlands. CEO.
Oh, 10 polls and more. Is that what you're looking at, or? No.
No, we're still essential services.
Yeah, but it's like,
Well, the first one,
The first
The
one,
first one, yeah.
just essential service.
Yes.
just essential
Yeah.
services.
Under woodlands,
Yeah, so. I think, so this all came about with. Somebody did this whole time. There's a lot of backlash from it, so I think basically us, the planning board, wanted to review any essential services that went in before a permit was issued.
okay.
That one was issued by CEO, right?
Right.
Pretty big project.
All right, so,
And we had the planning board think that, thought there was a mistake that was made there, but
okay.
it wasn't given to us to read.
So you're saying leave as the planning board. Okay.
So then in turn, are you in favor of the commercial and industrial being changed to planning board instead of CEO as well?
I'm in favor
Under
for it
that
all.
argument?
I'm in favor for it all, that's absolutely.
Doesn't seem unreasonable.
That's fine to me.
All right, so. So essential services across the board. Planning board.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, no argument there. All right, we'll make sure, if anyone feels strongly otherwise, just please speak up, because, you may change all our minds, so. So then, so as Wes had pointed out, you know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows below that that also deal with essential services or utilities. I mean, it's, so are there any, so under essential services for roadside distribution, that's all code enforcement?
I believe that was based on, we broke them down by what each of those entailed. This one is essentially,
I remember the conversation,
Yeah.
but I can't, it was very drawn out.
another long one.
Come on.
Another one of those long ones.
Joe, you have something to add?
This allows the CEO to sign projects, require sign off for CMP installation.
Thank you,
Oh,
CMP. I know it was CMP
Yeah.
related.
1190.
Yeah, we definitely want to make that
Yes,
history
that
on.
one we're gonna leave.
Okay.
And I think we debated each of those under the additional essential services based on what the purpose was behind each of them.
Right. Right, because we certainly don't want to hold up someone being able to bring power to their building site. If the planning board can't get a quorum or something. Worst case, oh,
That's an arduous process enough already.
yeah. Shelley, did you have, what
Yeah,
else did you
so
have?
I have under essential services B, the attorney added under woodland, residential, commercial, and industrial as NA, and we had no in those sections.
Under D,
Yeah.
We did-
Yep, under B.
so we weren't going to, you weren't going, the select board wasn't going to allow it under those?
Under, so, yeah, we had no
Most of it,
under
yeah.
woodland, commercial, and industrial, and residential.
Okay.
And then the attorney came back, said neither of them are applicable, they can't.
Right.
That's NA for them.
Madam Chair, I believe this item is in the shoreline area. I don't know if that has any bearing on this, but I'm guessing that's one she.
Yes.
What was it?
At the very end of this, it says, involving 10 poles or less in the shoreline area.
Okay.
So I think that's why she said it's not applicable, because those would be covered. under the
Okay, that
shoreline.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. I see you have other things.
Yeah, and it said the same thing under essential services C. It said NA for the same thing, and we had CEO for under commercial and industrial.
That's another shoreline.
This is no
related.
shoreline. right?
Both of
No,
those, C and D, B,
Yeah.
C, and D are all shoreline related.
Good.
And then under essential services D, we had put for woodland and residential, planning board. And, looks like it, code enforcement officer for those two. Oh, and the same way for commercial and industrial. So we had looked at, other than the two no's for, resource protection and shoreland, we put the planning board going straight across. And then no, of course, in the Route 17 overlay.
On D? Or?
Yeah.
On D.
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 So it's plain board all the way across? Is what they're recommending, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what you're recommending?
Yeah, that's what we recommended, and then it came back with the code enforcement officer under woodland, residential, commercial, and industrial. I don't know if there was a particular reason.
That's the way it was originally.
Okay.
That's what, but I don't know if the planning board had, reason that they wanted that, our recommendation reverted. I don't think it wasn't in the summary.
So anything with cell towers is on the planning board.
That's what Shelley's saying that we
Yeah.
had.
At this point.
I'll say that's what we originally discussed.
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too. It's the same difference as the solar fields, basically.
So change those 4 fields to planning board for the CEO. That would,
That seems,
I'd be fine with it.
planning board, everyone seems to be nodding their head yes. Okay, all right.
As to the solar fields, the chance that any other one's gonna be put here is slim to zero, because we've been at the school looking at getting solar on the roof to just take care of our own costs, because we get that huge roof that gets sun on it. And, they ran our study for us, and they said that CMP isn't allowing anything else to go on except for end users in this area. There's enough solar capacity between the Saddleback project and the one that's approved at the top of Pleasant Street. So,
What we were told, because the Board of Selectmen in the town looked into it for up at Chick Hill or the airport. And basically, the grid is maxed out.
That's
So with the
right.
12 acre solar, that's why it's only 12 acres. Because it maxes out our grid.
right, so I mean, we're doing all these protections, but in reality, they may not come in unless they upgrade the bridge.
Unless they upgrade the grid.
And I guess that's what we're protecting for.
So they won't, yeah, so at this point, nothing else can go in and,
But I thought that was interesting, because I didn't know.
yeah, we had, I remember being surprised that when we learned that at that point as well, but,
I wouldn't be bad just put it.
you know, there's a lot that goes into consideration, which is why these solar companies grabbed land. I mean, so they sought out these landowners across the states and got them under contract as soon as possible so they could reserve a spot on the grid.
The same as the Walgreens guys did when they were gonna bring Walgreens here. The normal technique.
Yeah,
auction, everything.
So that's why there was that mad grab, and, you know, landowners were contacted by a number of solar companies. So, all right, so we've got that all revised over to planning board. Shelley, you seem to have.
As you can see on my red, sorry.
It's great.
Underneath the event center, we had, under resource protection, we put conditional use. We also put it under woodland, residential, and industrial. And then the attorney changed, let's see, woodland, residential, and industrial to no.
In resource.
Hmm?
In resource
Resource protection as well.
is no too.
Okay.
And we adjusted the definition, and I think the planning board went along with that. I think the event center, it was originally, you know, at 25 people or more, and we've increased it to 50 or more, because any large family gathering of certain families in town, you could easily get 25 or more, so. And so given that increased, you know, 50 or more, that probably naturally became less than conducive for some of these, so.
All right, so I just want to make sure we're keeping it at no for resource protection. We're keeping it as the attorney recommended for no for woodland, residential, and industrial.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, as far as woodland, seeing as you're allowing campgrounds and stuff, that will already have that amount of people, not that they're all gathered together, they know each other, but I think that it should be a CU or.
See you under Woodland.
I was just gonna ask why we didn't allow them. Is there a reason we don't allow event centers in woodland or residential?
Well, that was,
Residential, I guess, but woodland is residential.
I think, it was the Board of Selectmen's recommendation that Woodland, be allowed under, you know, conditional use.
We write some additional in the code that says, you know, if you're gonna do an event, say you need X amount of acreage, kind of like the coastal development sort of thing.
What's the definition of
It's right in here.
We added one, I think we revised it last time.
Yeah, we added to 50,
Yeah, we increased the,
3874.
It's the same one you said last time.
I know.
Right below dental services.
Amazing, though. Like they're all in order.
Alphabetically. But they're really not, in this order versus this order, anyway.
In the definition, it says,
just say
no. Are we saying no because we're looking at the best center as a commercial enterprise?
all right, so one voice at a time. Wes raised a question. Go ahead, Wes.
Are we saying no because we're looking at a event center as a commercial enterprise? I think that's probably why it is no in the,
Because of why?
because we're looking at it as a commercial enterprise.
Yeah, and we keep talking, but we're kind of going down a slippery slope of that, because we've already done that. We said, okay, we're gonna stick mobile home parks there, we're gonna stick a couple others.
That's
Those
the,
are all commercial enterprise. So I guess, I think we need to look at, redefine it.
it does say that an event center can include a residential
Right.
dwelling.
Yep, arena, lecture hall, banquet facility, or outdoor area.
But the intent of an event center is to produce revenue. But then again, yeah, this is a real.
So isn't the trail,
So it's, well, that, the intent to throw up a trailer park is for for residential.
it's not for the trailer park owner.
Yeah, but breakfast is
but these times of events,
revenue, we just said yes to them.
is the serve
Yeah.
purpose to the community.
And I think one of the points you made as well is like, are we going to be a wedding destination?
Right. We
Because
already
a lot
have,
of people come up here.
we have
Yeah, we
5
already are.
facilities already that are
Yeah.
booked up constantly.
Yep.
It's only a matter of time where more happen. I mean, look at Camden, Peru, a few of these other areas have grown because of
Right.
that. I mean, we're not getting any less popular.
Mhm.
So I guess,
We were in the New York Times last Saturday.
yeah, Wall Street
Oh my
Journal.
gosh, I wish you'd just stop it. Enough already.
6 years ago, we're begging for something. And now
Oh
we're
my
like,
word,
ooh,
enough already. I can see where residential, especially, it wouldn't fit because of with the 50+.
I really think we need to look at renaming this woodland zone. I know that sounds like a big problem, but we gotta look at that to rural zone.
Can we get to chapter 38 first?
But it's still part of it.
I would say CU to Woodland for the
Me
event
too.
center would be, makes sense.
Clay, how do you others feel? Wes, you're kind of on the fence because you're thinking of it as a commercial
I-
enterprise
I-
and a woodland zone.
And what would be put there?
Is there a way to put a map?
Wait a minute.
Is it got protection with the conditional use?
What's that?
Would it have protection if it's considered conditional use? Because then it would have to go to the public, right? I think that's why we selected conditional use. So it would have to be a public hearing.
If the daycare center can be in woodland zone with conditional use and an event center can't do it.
Not much different, except they're
That's a good
babysitting adults instead of babysitting.
point.
Well, sometimes.
Am I wrong?
No, that's a good point.
I think the CU's gotta be the protection, planning board
Yeah.
CU.
Mhm.
That gives you a lot of latitude to say, you don't have an applicant appropriate buffers and those things, and maybe we look at some additional ordinances around that. another point.
And the definition doesn't say commercial in it, under event center.
It is commercial,
It is, well, yes.
so isn't a B and D, and we approved that, right?
Yeah.
That's to mention that, I'll take your daycare centers, the commercial enterprise, mobile home parks.
I don't
You're
agree
leasing
with
them?
part, because you can say that about the park. too.
That's true.
Yeah, but you're leasing a bunch of multiple spaces that have turnover, this product. I think, I know where you're coming from.
They turn over nonstop.
But they own the facility.
And that works.
Some mobile home parks, you can bring your own.
Not always, sometimes
So planning board, so we've got, I want to get your
CU.
CU, okay?
But to leave it as no for resource protection, right?
And for residential.
Yeah. All right,
Nobody wants that next door. I don't think.
Jerry,
And the residential?
any
Can we
thoughts
leave
to
it
the
shoreline
contrary?
zone?
No,
Okay.
unconditional use.
All right, so planning board, we've got majority consensus over there. Board of Selectmen, okay with CU for Woodland and, where am I? No for residential. Okay,
We're just changing the word.
that's correct. All righty. We've got a half hour left. Shelley, what else do you have?
Well, I was just
How much red ink you got over there?
on the part
Sure.
where, as under the residential, say no, there are some residential lots that are a large size.
What are we looking at again?
She's looking at the same thing, she's on the same
We're
one.
still on the same one.
Yep.
Charlie?
Conditional
still on
use
the
rather
right
than no on residential. I'm saying,
I would say no residential.
I'm concerned about the shoreline one on that part, just because we had a lot of issues with a residential use that got cranked up to a commercial use over on Rumford Road, which caused a lot of issues with owners.
Oh,
We had to deal with that a few years ago. So, I just think I guess if we're gonna leave it, we can leave it with the planning board, but it does, sound carries exponentially across the water. So that's just something to think about. I mean, and there are some parcels, you know, who knows the future of North Camp, some of these other ones, there are some decent parcels that could be developed into larger event centers. out
It's a
there.
perfect spot.
And yeah. I guess it depends on what we're trying to accomplish.
everybody wants to get married on one.
yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They even want to get married at the park with all the goose. All right.
All right, event center. Any further comments?
So we're adding Woodland.
Yep. All right. What else have you got?
6 zones.
And we're not adding industrial, right?
No, there's only one industrial area. None of the homes.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing we talked about, looking into expanding.
That's, the commercial and the industrial have to be expanded. It's not crazy, but I understand Wes's concerns, he's right. We are putting stuff in Woodland, but if we zoned it that way and then made the ordinances, then we could control it before it gets too crazy. Because it's gonna get crazy.
I think we have to look at all our zoning.
Yeah, so,
I mean, Midtown, what we got there, we're constantly running up against that. That could easily, logically fit as a commercial zone. Because most of, we've got 5 non-conforming use businesses and properties there that every time we do anything, we're always bumping up against it.
okay, so that's another meeting.
Yep.
All right, what else have you got, Shelley?
So that was industrial, right? We're leaving industrial at no, or we're correct? Okay. My notes are right. And then I'm on page 3820, under industrial light. We had put under woodland and said no, but we put conditional use.
Industrial light,
Yeah.
under woodland. So, correct. It originally was no.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone have a zoning map that has industrial heavy and industrial light on it?
I think
This is the type of business, not the zone.
Yeah.
This is the type of business,
Okay,
not the zone.
I thought that's what we
This
were.
was debated all the way to the election. right?
So Shelley, your question was,
So under light industrial, for woodland, we had put conditional use in the woodland area.
Yeah, we did.
And then the one showing now, it's showing it, you know.
No, yes, no.
I didn't know what the reasonings were for.
These are all lawyers, like you said, right?
Yeah, whose recommendation was that, the lawyers?
These all lawyers notes?
No, that was on our notes from our meeting.
Right, no, but what's on this sheet we're looking at right now?
So this is, the sheet that we're looking at right now was basically the planning board and ours all coming together.
These, I think you're referring to the footnotes that are on 3821. Is that correct, Ethan?
I think I was confused and I didn't know I was referring to.
Well, because the lawyer made just as many footnotes as we did.
Right.
Right.
Commercial facility, because that footnote one, commercial facilities permitted in Woodland District shall be limited to forestry, forest projects, natural resources, and outdoor recreation. Industrial light,
What's the definition of industrial?
3877.
Yeah. Basically, as I understand it, is all the parts, all the components are built separately and they can be assembled for later. So
It
if
must
you're
be-
manufacturing raw materials.
Processing, fabrication, assembly, treatment, packaging,
Yeah,
incidental storage of goods, so forth.
you order a bunch of parts on Amazon, you put them together, that's light industrial.
Which is, yeah, and that's why we're allowing commercial and downtown commercial.
Right.
I think it's just stay out of the Woodlands, instead of dumping
I mean,
everything,
I agree.
that opens up a big hole.
you know, keep it where it is.
Leave it alone.
But I mean, the small owner can do it under their home occupation business,
Yeah, I was gonna put, you know.
them and one
whatever.
person, but
all right,
I
so
could
the
do something- I
planning
could
board,
Still do something like a route.
the planning board, there
Do it
seems to
that
be a
way.
consensus that you want it kept out of, Woodland and keep it at no. This was a recommendation as a result of our meeting, to have it under conditional use in Woodland zone. So what does the board of selectmen consider? What are your thoughts
I'm
now?
trying to remember what we talked about. I think when we talked about Wamco, haven't been there forever. I don't have a map in front of me, so that's what, so let me go look. I think that's something we discussed.
Wamco's easy to solve, right? Wamco's residential. And that's easy
Okay.
to solve if you build a commercial district out there, you just connect just one lot in between.
Yeah, I can't recall why we put it there, but I'm sure we
I
talked
think
about
that
it
was one of them.
extensively.
I'm sure we did.
And I got a question.
Yeah.
Not to get too crazy, but what would we do if somebody bought Wamco and wanted to open up a furniture?
It's already happened.
It's already happened.
Conditional use permit on it.
Oh, it does.
You could do that.
Oh,
They just can't make it more non-conforming. I'm not seeing anything in my notes regarding this. All right,
Was there any downsides or not?
So leave it at no.
To leave it at no?
leave it at no. Is that okay with the board of selectmen? I'm fine with it. Okay, leave it at no. Okay. What else you got?
So mining of land, the shoreland says, no, and then we had selected CEO. I can't remember what we were thinking.
So we fixed that on this.
No, we just-
No, that was mineral
No,
exploration.
no. But if we said that was no, then that should be no.
Right.
That was covered.
Woodland, CU.
So say that again, Shelley.
So the mining of land.
Yep.
Under shoreland, we had changed that from no to CEO.
Yeah, I think where the mineral exploration is no, mining is no.
Okay.
Just two zones, right?
For those
Woodland and
two.
industrial, the CEO and CEO, mineral and then mine.
Yeah, for woodland and industrial. All right,
Hotel, under Woodland, we had, conditional use, and the attorney selected no.
This goes back to your commercial.
She wanted us to stop throwing stuff in the Woodland district.
No, she said we couldn't just use it as a dumping ground, but if we're, wait a minute, if we're letting it occur in other places, we're not using it as a dumping ground. No, I'm being dead serious.
Well, same with like bed and breakfast and, boarding house.
she did it.
In all honesty, I wouldn't mind it getting out of the residential in the village zone either. That's my personal opinion.
It's never gonna happen in rural because of the pure cost of the septic in most pieces and hotels. And then when I was in Wyndham, they didn't end up getting a hotel until their sewer line was increased enough because it just wasn't economically viable. Without
People have a
public
lot of
sewer,
money,
water.
people have a lot of money to part with, you don't have any idea what they can do with their money.
Yeah, but the septic design it would take for a hotel site. So
I
take up
understand
so
what
much
you're saying, but they have a lot of money, they can make it happen. I know you don't have to.
That was able to do that one, the Aquatic Country Suites, with that existing septic right there.
That's amazing.
I know, it's got, I don't know, 6, 8 units.
That's a good point.
so, so as far as woodland being no. So let's address that first, because we did, the Board of Selectmen did go with conditional, did go with conditional use. And then we'll get into the other categories, because Wes, you named a concern with the other areas, so we'll work our way through. Motel, hotel.
Well, we do have an issue with lodging both transient and permanent residence lodging. So I don't think we should be quick to strike everything like this just because no. I think we need to think about it, talk about it, because I mean, any given weekend, you can't house the people here, and then there's gripes about the way people are being housed in a transient manner. So we gotta be able to place people, or at least think about how to, and where's our largest area?
It comes back to zoning though, expand the zone, change the zoning, create commercial space. We're almost putting pressure on the zoning board to come up with additional zoning for this house.
We almost are.
Almost, definitely not.
And that's a good thing.
So, Madam Chairman,
Yes,
so we said D and D is okay. We said event centers are okay, which have a residential dwelling component. So I guess the question is how much slippery down the slope do you want to go?
so if you read the definition
Right.
of hotel, motel, they're, they're different. I mean, the motel is a building or group of buildings, which lodging is offered to the general public first.
So an event center has a private event that wouldn't fit.
Right. Hotel is a building in which lodging or meals and lodging are offered to the general public. The hotel may contain such accessory services and facilities as newsstands and restaurants.
Newsstand, that's cute. I haven't seen a newsstand in forever.
All right, so,
We didn't have two different definitions, the fact that there's motel and hotel.
Yeah, I agree
One
with
was
that.
saying, why not make it motel and then hotel?
You're right.
Should I be
all right, so there seems to be a consensus among the Board of Selectmen, yes, let's separate those out.
Absolutely.
Planning Board?
First.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna separate those out. Hotel comes first in the alphabetical order of things.
So no in resource protection for hotels.
Yep.
Shoreland, are you still looking at a CU 9 or are you looking at no?
You gotta remember, part of our shoreline zoning is downtown commercial.
Okay, so we probably should say CU 9. Okay. And then Woodland,
And across the setback.
Woodland for a hotel.
I would say.
I would say no too.
All right, we've got two, I will agree. Okay, so we've got, Ethan, what are your thoughts? No for hotel.
I would say yes to both of them, but, we'll go with the consensus in the room.
I know you can always change our minds. Ethna, your thoughts? Hotel, no, Woodland Zone.
I do not currently have any thoughts anymore on this.
Okay, all right. Planning Board,
What if I wanted to do a Mohegan Sun on Cookie Pond Road? Overlooking Round Pond. And bring $1 billion a year. Is that a hotel or is it a motel?
hotel is a single structure. Hotel,
I don't, I guess, I don't want it in my neighborhood, but obviously, but.
I think that would fall under casino, and that whole.
Right, that's what- I guess,
We have the, we have resorts under here anywhere.
do we?
No, no.
But when you say round pond, that's a perfect example, because at one point, when I was growing up here, they were looking at putting a kids camp over there.
Yeah, I could have bought the whole thing, not, if you could afford it. and-
Yeah.
and then
So
do
they
it.
bought the whole
they did.
Right.
I think years ago, we're gonna do an RV,
Luckily,
an
they
RV park
did it.
for the summers.
Right.
They got one.
So,
Yeah,
That was over,
the Clintons, right?
The Glick, it actually won at town meeting by one vote.
Yep.
There's a special town meeting for that, but they didn't want to, they were hoping to win by a larger margin. They didn't want to divide the town.
Yep.
Planning Board. Hotel, Woodland Zone, there's a consensus at this point amongst the board that that be a no. For hotel.
Can I look at your zoning map?
All right, Wes says no. We is just head in hand.
I just feel that, no, first, no, right? But if the fight comes to us, it's coming to us, it's just like everything else. It's just one good lawyer and a handful of money away from being right in our face.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we can go no, that's fine. And then if we fight it, it ends up being conditional use. It's what it is, but.
Because in, which isn't too much different, but, in a hotel, I mean, like, there's just so many variances for that.
And do we still have our height restriction in the woodland zone at 35 feet?
So that's,
What did you ask, Lee?
The height requirements on structures and range, I think, 35 feet.
Yeah, from the lowest point to, yeah.
and our hotel motel, couldn't we define constitute X amount of units? No,
The inn is owner occupied, so that's a little different.
right. Owners on site.
The owner's on site, up to 10 lodging rooms. So that the inn isn't like a hotel.
I guess
Or
I would
hotel.
agree, no,
Okay,
keep it that way.
all right. Jerry?
No, no.
Okay, all right, so it looks like there's a consensus. All right, so that remains no. All right, so Wes raised some concerns regarding, all right, well, let's just go down the line, because now we're separating them out. Sorry, I had to break them. Hotel in residential. No.
No.
Planning board okay with no. Hotel in village.
No. Conditional use?
That used to be now. The village is just more dense.
It's, you're right, it's a more,
Like, what would you do with all the traffic?
yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that'd be their problem. Why wouldn't you have?
Well, that's true, because they have to have a certain number of parking spots
Right.
to accommodate the rooms. So village, we'll just make it easy for them, didn't we? Hotel in downtown commercial.
No parking restrictions in downtown commercial. Right? 5-foot setback.
Isn't there one already approved?
You mean the range you motor in?
No, just up past my building on the right, Shane Forest.
The tiny house?
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, the tiny houses.
Yeah,
There's an event center, and then there's a hotel motel with 24 rooms, I think it's. I know.
He already got approved, yeah.
You're right.
You're right on that.
So there is one already here.
Okay.
Is that still downtown commercial there? I thought that's what
I
showed.
think that's commercial.
That's regular commercial. So I think downtown commercial stops at Depot Street.
Okay, regular commercial,
Doesn't downtown stop at Depot?
I think it's,
Yeah, so he had to provide a parking to us.
Right, right. Because he was required to have the parking spaces.
all right, so downtown commercial, hotel.
I'd say yes.
Conditional use?
Yeah.
All right, rest of the planning board. Conditional use, downtown commercial for hotel.
Yes.
Okay,
Considering that's all the ranges used to be, yeah, I think that's good.
all right, rest of the board of selectmen. I see a yes and a yes, okay, that's a good one. So conditional use, downtown commercial. Hotel and commercial,
Conditional use.
Mhm.
CU. Planning board, okay, CU. Industrial,
No.
industrial, no, yeah, because we want that eventually maybe to be used for industrial. And then the Route 17 overlay wouldn't allow that, right, not up from there. Okay, so that's hotel. Motel,
See, the same as what we outlined in hotel. Save some time.
Could you put woodland as conditional use?
motel, a building or group of buildings in which lodging is offered to the general public. Entrance to rooms is made directly from the outside of the building. Motel includes such terms as tourist cabins and tourist port.
I'm sorry, could you say that last?
Yeah. Where the entrance to the rooms is made directly from the outside of the building. Motel includes such terms as tourist cabins and tourist ports. So motel and resource protection. Motel, I think motel and resource protection. Probably
Resource
not.
protection, I don't think we're allowed to build anything
No, I
in
think
resource
so.
protection unless there's no other way to go with it.
Okay. Thanks, Will. Shoreland,
I don't know what do you want.
So the 250 back.
yeah, 250 feet setback. Okay with CU9?
Yep.
Yeah. CU9. Woodland. For motel.
Conditional use.
I agree.
All right, Ethan and Shelley, conditional use. Sam's nodding her head. Ethna. Raised eyebrows. Chris lips. Planning board.
My vote is no.
Can I ask that?
Ethna,
Have to have it.
share.
I voiced my opinion. We were told to stop putting stuff in woodland, stop treating it like a junk area because it's all we've got left for woodland. The point of the comp plan is to save our woodland area, and all we're doing is dumping everything we don't want somewhere else into our woodland zone. So that is my opinion.
So what would your opinion be if all the zoning was redone and commercial and all the stuff was done the way it should be? What would your opinion then?
If we expanded our commercial, a lot of this should be in commercial. I mean, these are commercial uses.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, so if you want to look at the zoning map and rezone,
So that's a good compromise.
All right, so for the sake of the current
for
situation,
the sake of the current, I'm gonna go with no.
okay, Ethna, and that's,
Yeah, and I think we can justify it from the standpoint of the inn and the D and B are owner occupied versus a motel and hotel might be a manager, might just be like the ones we have in a closet, which are just punch in the code and go in.
I've managed.
all right.
But they're not, someone's not managing,
They're
not
managed.
staying on site, right?
All right, so, so we have Ethna voicing, I was in the process of planning board, so we'll come back to the select board. So we're saying no,
I'm saying the same.
okay?
No.
All right, so we've got the planning board saying no for motel woodland zone. Sure. Okay, Sam is saying no, Ethna, no. Okay, conditional use, I'll go no. All right, so we've got a consensus for no woodlands. All right, we've got 3 minutes. Motel residential. No. Okay. Motel village. No. Motel downtown commercial.
Conditional use.
Conditional use. Any disagreements on the select board? Okay, conditional use, downtown commercial for motel. Commercial,
See you.
CU. Planning board, CU, commercial. So no, everyone nod, okay. Industrial,
No.
no. Industrial, okay. Route 17 overlay, I don't think that's
So we the same on both motel and hotel?
Yes.
Did you want, you had to ask that, right?
Well, I think it depends on the rezone. I think we keep.
I know, that's what I'm thinking after.
They are two different things.
They are.
I think we keep them separated.
Yeah, keep them separate.
And it might
Yeah,
change
three
later.
different
Clearly, I'm getting punched, people, okay?
That's fine, thank you.
All right, do we have time for one more?
Well, under small non-residential facilities, that's in there twice.
Small, it is. Small non-residential for nature, okay, yep.
So why is it
I
listed
read that
twice?
10 times just to make sure.
Identical.
Okay, let's get rid of one of those.
All right.
Scratch one.
Yeah, at least that's pretty.
Good one, Dawn.
I don't like going to the
Can we get through land use table? What else we got?
38, 20, 38, 21, and nothing, there was everything that.
See, we got through.
All right, we got through land use table.
Oh,
Okay.
that took us less than 2 minutes.
All right, next meeting. How do you guys want to go forward?
Just like that.
Yep.
Just like
Yep,
this.
That's right.
All right,
Just like this.
it's just like this one, Kristen, okay.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's worth the wait now.
so do you want to reach out, when do you guys meet again?
I think
You meet next
The
week,
second and fourth Wednesdays, right?
okay. All right, so let's find out what Kristen's availability is. This is a Wednesday night. It'd be good if we could kind of keep the same time, day and time for the sake of all of our schedules.
Would it make sense to do just an hour and then?
Yeah.
Do it more often and do it.
It depends
before planning board, then I think, I don't know if that works. If they do a 5 to 6 for that, and then planning board 5 to 6. and-
Yeah, we don't trade off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do, an hour before select board.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's
You just-
run it by Kristen and see.
It's getting higher.
I like that. That way,
So what day?
so what we're proposing is, maybe meeting an hour before a planning board meeting, and then the next week it's an hour before a select board meeting.
That might screw us up with our site visits. We usually do site visits before.
Oh, right.
There you go.
Well, okay.
Just a thought.
If we have it.
If we have it, I don't.
I don't even know what the agenda is come out, but we do have one, we do have something else. So there you go.
But as often as we can, I think,
Yeah,
because that was very productive.
all right.
Yeah.
So,
2 weeks from tonight. And I'll see if Kristen can do it.
2 weeks from
You got
tonight,
4/5 of the board here. If they can do it, they can tell you now.
right. 2
They're
weeks
supposed
from,
to check track of all that.
Hey, you'll get a lot done, because I can't do November 2nd.
We might be able to get.
all,
Exactly, you got a shot.
Send in your
I come
notes.
here for an
So you're
hour.
saying what? Email it to November 2nd,
so, let's see here, November 2nd,
same time, or while we're checking Christmas.
check with Kristen.
So we have, what is?
We'll be back to back again, yeah, like.
3 hours.
What time's ordinance at, 5?
5 to
Oh,
6.
make sure you eat, because you'd be hangry if you don't.
No,
man.
hangry.
Oh, no.
Every meeting like we did today.
Yeah.
5:30.
All right,
So 6 o'clock on the November 2nd?
yes, pending Kristen's availability.
Eating is.
All right, I'm putting it in.
All right, chapter 38.
I think it was good tonight. Got a lot
Yeah,
done.
6 to 8.
So we'll focus on mobile home parks, get that all,
Say it again, Shelley?
so we'll focus on mobile home parks. We'll
Finish
look at this as well, that we received. You guys all get copies of
So they'll have copies
Yeah.
of the
accessory dwelling unit.
accessory dwelling units. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, and we'll just,
Are you guys willing to look at setbacks too?
You set this back?
I think, and then I think there was a request to revisit signs.
Well, that was one of my questions I didn't want to bring up, was not signs, but moorings.
Oh, yeah.
Where's that at?
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Separate ordinance.
I know, I was just wondering,
So they need to still review that.
Legal has, there's just a couple of adjustments
Okay.
that need to be made, and then it comes to you guys. Hopefully on the next agenda, is that what we were talking about?
it could be, yeah, it could be as soon as it gets to down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we want to talk about a setback thing?
Anything can be discussed.
All right.
Yeah, because you were-
Right.
Anything can be discussed, I think, yes. So I think there was a little bit of unfinished business with, the RFA and some questions they were asking, and we'll just discuss that at the next meeting.
Dark sky and all.
Dark sky is all compliant,
Dark side, yeah,
that's done.
Good.
Yeah, that's already been worked in, we had Rachel Lake Heritage Trust here,
I remember that.
yeah, so dark sky and lighting is fine, but it's signs, that seems to be a little bit of unfinished business.
But those ordinances haven't been voted on, right? I think it's not the lighting and the.
That's a tough one, since the three guys
That's it.
are
that's all within this
currently
one.
in town.
That's all your ordinance within this one, yeah. Yeah, those ones aren't pulled out separately.
All right, so probably accessory dwelling unit will be down the road.
Okay. So we'll just focus on what we have now,
Yeah.
and then what we're gonna add.
The problem is there's no rulemaking yet from the state, so it'd be kind of getting the cart in front of the horse. We have some of that. going to be approaching.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got towns that have already passed ordinances that operate and issue.
This is one of the areas that Kristen will be ready to talk.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That and the growth areas, right?
Okay,
Good.
all right. We're done.
Madam Chairman, thank you for not kicking me out.
We did like you out. Would you like a ride home? You look exhausted.
Yeah.